the Potomac River in Charles County, Maryland, just a stone's throw away from our nation's capital. And it's here that more than 150 of the best bass anglers in the world will battle for $409,450 in prize money. Stay tuned to TNN Outdoors for the Maryland Big Kmart Bassmaster Top 150. They're going to see it!
Hello, I'm Fish Fishburne.
And I'm Shaw Grigsby. Welcome to the Bassmasters.
Shaw, this has to be one of the most incredible starts we've ever seen on the Bassmaster Tournament Trail.
No kidding, Fish. It all started at the Michigan Top 150, where it took Larry Nixon over 73 pounds to win. Then, in the Vermont 150, Mike Iaconelli weighed in over 61 pounds in a tournament that was shortened by a day because of bad weather. That's over a 4-pound average per fish for 3 different days. So if things keep going the way they have been, winning this Maryland Top 150 tournament will take a really impressive catch. Fish, I don't know if there's something in the water, it's a Y2K thing or what, but these guys have been tearing it up.
It has definitely been an incredible year so far, Shaw. Tell us a little bit about the Potomac River.
The Potomac River has been a popular site on the Bassmaster Tournament Trail for almost 10 years, and it always produces big numbers of large fish. It's a tidal river, and that's the biggest challenge that face these anglers here. When the tide is moving in, or out for that matter, the fish are usually real aggressive and fairly easy to catch. Between tides, however, the bite can get real slow. Some guys run and gun and follow the tide, while other guys will wait the tide out on their favorite spot.
For a number of the contenders, day one was very rewarding. Crestwood, Kentucky pro Kevin Worth took the early lead with a huge 22-pound string. Rookie Timmy Horton's in second place, just 4 small ounces behind.
Jay Yellis weighed in a 16-pound, 14-ounce bag. He's followed by Scott Canellis and Marty Forkiller.
We'll be right back with exciting action from day 2 right after this.
Most of my fish, in fact, all my fish today have come on a crankbait. I kind of mixed it up a little bit on this spot. I got 4 different crankbaits tied on all my different rods just to show them different looks. But usually I'm throwing a fire tiger color, some kind of chartreuse. I've been throwing the Frenzy a lot this year. That new Berkeley Frenzy, because it's something new that they haven't seen before. You can catch them on a jig too. My partner's caught 2 on a jig today. But they really seem to be preferring the crankbait. There's another one. Well, them things are on this spot today.
The wind has got the water pushed out in the bay. We are just hoping that the wind will diminish enough so I can get back out on my sweet spot. In the meantime, we're going to pitch around these marinas, and Willard, my amateur partner, he just caught a good keeper, and we're going to keep plugging away here and see if we can find some. If we can just get the wind to lay down enough. We got out there in the rattle trap spots we were throwing. You throw them and they just sail away. You couldn't even. We spooled down the smaller line and everything, diameter, but the wind was still blowing us up pretty bad. We were just beating ourselves up, so we came in here to see if we could round us up one.
Shaw, looks like the wind was pretty tough on day 2.
Absolutely, Fish. There were reports of gusts over 35 miles an hour. A little bit of wind can be a good thing because it makes the fish aggressive. But this much wind makes it hard to run your boat, and it muddies the water. Plus, the wind kept that all-important tide from coming in. Let's see how Angler of the Year Kevin Van Dam handled these changing conditions.
You know, the first competition day, it was pretty flat, and you could really run around anywhere and fish, and I decided to start way south because the tides were going to be a little higher down there. there, and I like to fish the high tides, fishing the shallower cover. And I basically burned about 40 gallons of gas, running about 40 or 50 miles of the river, just staying with that high tide, and caught 12, 15. And today, the wind blew about 25, 30 mile an hour, and it really pushed me into one area that I had caught a few fish that I knew would be a little protected and not muddied up from them high winds going across those shallow flats. And I just happened to get in there and just work real hard in a small area and get some really nice bites and caught a good string.
And Kevin did catch a nice stringer of 17 pounds, 9 ounces. That takes him from 21st all the way up to 4th.
As we look at our Day 2 leaderboard, Skeet Reeves moves to 3rd. David Fritz jumps from 14th to 2nd, and Timmy Horton from Spruce Pine, Alabama, takes over the top spot with a 15-pound, 3-ounce stringer. That gives him a 2-day total shaw of 36 pounds and 15 ounces.
That's a pretty good start. Remember, Day 3 is an elimination round. Only the top 10 anglers advance to the 4th and final day for a chance at the $100,000 first place prize. And that's $74,000 in cash and a fully rigged Ranger bass boat powered by Mercury Outboards, valued at $26,000. We'll find out who makes the final cut right after this.
Got here right off. The first hour was pretty slow. The tide was slack. It wasn't really coming in, and then the water started coming. When the water started coming in, is when the fish started feeding, and then they bit pretty quick. Then it went slack again. The tide started coming in a little bit more, and they started feeding again. I guess I've got maybe a little under 18 pounds right now, maybe a little more. I don't know. I've got one that weighs 2.3 that I need to get rid of, and it is 10:20 now. I guess I had my limit at 9:30. And if I can get rid of him, I'm probably going to leave this alone for tomorrow. I feel like if I can get around 20 pounds. If I can get around 20 pounds, I feel like I'll be all right for tomorrow. I know Fritz is really good here, him and Kevin both. And those are two you don't want on your heels, I can promise you that.
Boy, it looks like Timmy Horton's honey hole is still producing.
Sure, it sure is. And what Tim's doing is he's throwing a 1/2-ounce Cordell Super Spot that looks just like this one in the Fire Tiger color. And he's throwing it in shallow water. It's just 3 or 4 feet deep. Every once in a while, because he's reeling it nice and slow, it gets hung up in the rocks. But what he's doing is he'll jerk that bait out, and that'll cause some of the bigger fish to bite. Now, that is a reaction strike.
Absolutely, and that is something, because he's got an 18-pound stringer by 10:30 in the morning. Now, he's a little worried about David Fritz, who's sitting in 2nd place. Let's go see how David's doing.
And I tell you, yesterday was just ideal. I mean, it was perfect conditions for me. Low water, and it pulls the fish out on the edge of the grass, and it makes them a lot more catchable. They get real active if you know where the little eddies are. I coiled probably a 14-pound, 15-pound stringer yesterday, and it's just so easy. But like I say, it goes to show you in fishing tidal water what a different stages of the tide makes. And fishing this stuff, it's just a matter of being there when the fish are there and they're feeding. And sometimes that's pretty hard to do on tidal water to figure it out. But when you got low tide, obviously it's pretty easy, but boy, when that tide's coming in, like we've got the day incoming, fish usually positions themselves a little bit different, and they just don't feed as good as they do on an outgoing tide.
I mean, the general rule over the years here is a lot of guys have scaled down fishing small baits, little 1- crankbaits, just small baits like that, small spinner baits. For the most part, the majority of the bait in the place is pretty small. But even so, they've still seen a spinnerbait through here 1,000 times. They've still seen a black and blue jig 1,000 times. But this little... There we go. Little guy. I don't think he's gonna help, but... Hey, I caught one over off these pilings finally. Told you I was going to catch one sooner or later.
Well, what happened to me yesterday, that wind blew out of the northwest, and it just, you know, as the tide went out, it just blew the tide extremely low, something that I've never seen before, and probably 99% of the guys in this tournament never seen before. And what happened here, I mean, you know, it's just hard to figure where the fish went and what they did. I'm just fortunate that they come back, you know, when the water come back up, they move back up. And, you know, we've never seen it before happen, but I'm sure these fish have seen it happen before, so they know how to adjust to it and pull back off. It was just that major front coming through that caused all the wind. It was unfortunate for me that it blew in the wrong direction, you know, because I'm catching so many of my fish shallow that, man, there wasn't no water where I was catching them, and I tried to adjust, and, you know, trying to find these fish after something like that happens when you come in and know, you know, everything's dry water, dry land, I mean. It's hard because I'm not fishing for a tremendous amount of bites. You know, if I get a bite an hour, I'm real happy. But they're better quality fish. And you got to fish every individual piece. You know, if you miss one little thing, that's where we want to be.
One of the neat things about the Top 150 tournaments is that for the first 3 days of competition, the amateurs get to fish with the pros. George Cochran, a two-time Classic champ, was paired with kind of a special amateur on day 3.
That's right, Shaw. Cochran's amateur partner was 16-year-old Erica Eldred, a high school junior from North Platte, Nebraska. And she wasn't along just for the ride. The girl can fish.
Well, I've had a wonderful day because I've got to fish with this nice little young lady, Erica. And she is such a good fisherman. And I've caught probably 10 keepers, and she lost a real good fish, about 3 pounds, and she's got 3. And I'm hoping she's got big bass for the day, because she has one nice big bass about 5 pounds. And what I've been doing is fishing different than I usually fish, is I'm fishing a shallow crankbait around these poles. Gosh darn, I lost one there. Fishing a shallow crankbait. And for some reason, it's a big, deep flat, but around these poles and this big dock, they've dug it out. And the fish move in and out around these poles. And I've been using a Strike King Series 1 little crankbait, shad colored, throwing around these poles and working it, bouncing off the poles, and been catching fish. And she was trying different baits, like rattle traps and other baits. And I tied her on what I call Mr. Money. It's a little bitty Strike King Series 1. And she's caught a 5-pounder and a couple of 2-pounders. She lost a good fish, and so that made my whole day because, you know, a nice little girl like this fishing, and she can fish as good as about any of the amateurs I've ever fished with. And it shows that today she's caught 3 fish, probably weighs more than my 5.
Erica did indeed get amateur big bass honors for day 3 with that lunker that weighed 4 pounds, 12 ounces. Nice catch, Erica. Well, Fish, who made the final cut for Saturday's championship round?
With another impressive 5-bass limit, Tim Horton holds better than an 8-pound lead over Kevin Van Dam. Tyler Texas pro Jay Yellis jumps to the 3rd spot, followed by Skeet Reef and day 1 leader Kevin Worth.
Rounding out the top 10 are Steve Daniels, David Fritz, Larry Nixon, Tokyo's Norio Tanabe, and 2-time Classic champion George Cochran.
The field is set. Now we'll just have to see if anyone can overtake rookie Tim Horton. We'll find out right after this. Jay Yellis has been fishing the same spot all week. The question is, has he worn out his welcome?
Well, the conditions really aren't any different than they have been all week. It's a little cloudy today, but the water's real nice. I need some more fish to swim in here is what needs to happen. I have not left this spot for this is my 4th day sitting on this little old spot, and I added it up last night. There's been about 55 or 60 bass caught off this in the last 3 days, and it's probably getting worn a little thin. I need some fresh fish to swim in here and take up residence. If there were any fish that lived here, I caught most of them. I need some new ones to swim up. And I can't tell you whether that'll happen or not.
If anyone can make a charge, it's Angler of the Year, Kevin Van Dam.
I had a great little area that I was catching a lot of fish out of, and it was real slow today, and I caught those fish. And yesterday I left I left with about an hour to go, and after I'd caught a pretty good stringer, and I came down this area of the river and caught my 2 biggest fish, like 2 4.5 pounders. And so I had about 3 hours to go up there, and they weren't biting real good, and I just said, well, I'm going to go down there and catch those big ones again. Well, I came down here and fished for 3 hours and could not catch another one. I missed a few and stuff like that, but it was just real tough today. The tide didn't seem to run, and I've always done real well here, but I still cannot figure this tide out. I mean, just when you think you got it figured out, they do that to you, and it was a tough time.
Well, here's an angler that has figured them out. He's a rookie. He's 27-year-old Timmy Horton, who spends most of his time guiding in North Alabama, nowhere near tidal water. He's already placed 6th in the Michigan Top 150 earlier this season, and he's got over an 8-pound lead coming into the final day. He found this spot in practice, he told me, when he saw birds diving on bait fish. And I believe those birds are cormorants. They're the black ones. And Horton is still on them strong.
Blue is bigger. So blue's my smallest after this one. Kind of humbling having people watch you fish, I tell you.
It's amazing.
Yeah. This little old country boy from Alabama got people out here watching fish. I can remember growing up, 10, 12 years old, and couldn't wait to get in from church to watch Bassmasters on Sunday evening at 12 o'clock. Can't believe I'm out here doing this. Talking to Gary Klein at the hotel, and I was telling Gary about this spot. He looked me dead in the face, you know how Gary can be real serious. He said, "You're gonna win this tournament." And he said that, I was like, it kind of floored me, But he was so sincere and confident when he said that. It helped my confidence a lot. This is my 2nd tournament on tidal waters. I fished the St. Johns River in Florida. And I have to say I like it, I guess, because I'm having a good tournament, but it's still a lot new to me. I think I've just the last couple of days started figuring it out, because if I would have had more places than this, and I did, but they were really getting fished hard, I probably would have left this spot this morning at 9:30 or so. But knowing that the tide was a little bit later every day, figuring that out yesterday, I made myself stay, and fortunately they started feeding. I was getting really antsy. Man, this has been a blast. Once in a lifetime tournament right here.
Let's watch the weight. Each 10-3 to jump up. Boom! 12 pounds, 4 ounces, 12.4. Great job. He's going to need double digits, 13-13. Watch his weight, 13.9. 13.9. Great catch. Round of applause for Steve. You got any big ones in there, Peter? Today, David, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing real good, Fish. How are you?
I'm just fine. He's going to need to jump up. He's going to need 16 pounds and 2 ounces. Watch the weight, Fritz. Boom! 16.5, new leader, 16 pounds. Got him, Timmy. You caught me 5 again today, brother. Congratulations. Come on up here, young lady. His wife, Melanie. Melanie, congratulations. How are you, dear?
I'm great.
Good. Good to see you. Thanks for flying in. Here he goes. He's going to need a little over 4 pounds. Watch it! 19 pounds, 13 ounces. A new champion right there. Timmy Horton, you won it, buddy. Incredible string of bass. Look at those giant largemouth bass.
As if he needed it, Horton weighs in a monster stringer of 19 pounds, 13 ounces to blow the field away by almost 16 pounds. Fish, let's take a look at the final tally.
Horton takes home the $100,000 first place prize, while David Fritz overtakes Kevin Van Dam for the $38,000 runner-up spot. Skeet Reese takes home 4th, followed by Jay Yellis, Steve Daniels, George Cochran, Kevin Worth, Norio Tanabe, and Larry Nixon.
And that takes us to this week's Pros Pointer with our winner, Timmy Horton.
One thing that I tried to key on up here at the Potomac River this week was letting this Cordell rattling spot that I was throwing get down in the rocks. You can see the nose of this when the paint is kind of rubbed off on it. But during the slack tide, when the fish weren't real aggressive, if you would let the bait get down in the rocks and then rip it up off of them, that's when I was getting a lot of my strikes. When the tide was coming in and out and the current was pretty strong, you really didn't have to do that. But when it got slow, which is what we had a lot of today, we didn't have much tide moving, I was letting the bait get down in the rocks, pulling it out. It did cause me some hang-ups, but fishing in fairly shallow water, you could go get the bait. It was no problem. But if you fish in a current situation, that's something that you can try. It may get you more strikes. Let the bait get down in the rocks and bump it off the bottom, and it'll trigger a lot of reaction strikes for you.
Another great tournament, Fish.
The Potomac River does it again. And Shaw, I can't believe the weight these guys have been bringing in.
Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'm Shaw Grigsby.
And I'm Fish Fishburne, and you've been watching the Bassmaster.
She just got big bass. Look at that big giant fish. Let me in on a few of these shots.
Once in a lifetime tournament.
Give me one of them pigs. Look at it. Hold them way out like Roland does.
A 2-day total, Shaw, of 55,000 pounds and 8...